Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Beauty Connective podcast, where beauty professionals all over the industry are coming together to grow, connect, and get real about what it's like mixing business and beauty. This episode is brought to you by the Beauty Connective, a brand new beauty directory and search engine created by beauty professionals for beauty professionals that makes it easier than ever for clients in your local area to filter by location, pricing, availability, and read reviews to find you without you having to be on the social media grind. Today, I'm joined by someone who has a really unique perspective on the hair industry. As a master shear sharpener, he visits hundreds of salons and barbershops and gets a behind-the-scenes look at how they operate. I'm so excited to welcome Jun Koo, founder of Butter Shears.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Really excited to chat because you visit so many hair salons all over the industry and kind of bring like a unique perspective on them from an outsider's view. But what got you started in like shear sharpening and your business?
Yeah, it was totally by accident. Kara's my wife, and she's the co-founder of Butter Shears. But she was working a 9 to 5, and the deal was I needed to find a business so that she could leave the 9 to 5 and we can start a business together. And so we were just trial and error, like every single business idea that you can think of. Like I was trying it. Eventually I had to kind of come down, strip all the pride, and I started sharpening knives, going door to door, because I was in the door-to-door industry in the past, knocking on people's doors and sharpening knives in front of their doorstep. Now, I wish I had a picture of the cart that I had, but it was like literally a pull cart that like parents would take their kids on during like Swiss days.
Oh, yeah.
We had it outfitted with the little sharpening system, and I was literally sitting in front of doorsteps on this little step stool. And oh man, it was the most like back grueling work I've ever done. And it took me forever. And I was only charging like $10 to $15. And so it was like 3 hours. I was making like, I don't know, $50. And so it was really hard. And then a friend of mine came over to me and said like, hey, these are just 2 knives put together. Can you sharpen these shears? And that's just kind of what started it all. Like I did an okay job, and he gave me $50 for it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that took me like 15 minutes. So I went and started going salons and barbershops. And granted, I knew nothing about shears at that time. And so I did ruin a few pairs. And hopefully, like, if anybody's listening to this and you've experienced my services in the very beginning stages, like, I'm so sorry. But that's just kind of how it started. Like, it was just so quick, and it developed, and we innovated, I guess, and eventually became what Butter Shears is today.
Cool. So it sounds like you had to go through a learning process yourself about shears themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I knew nothing, like literally nothing.
When did you realize there was like a big demand for shear sharpening?
I think it was a lot of word of mouth. It was like, oh, you're new. Like, we need shear sharpeners. And it was like that for every single stop. And eventually, like, we just stuck with it. We said, hey, we're going to learn this the right way. And then we got proper sharpening equipment, the proper training. We got an entire van, which has been a headache, believe me, to make it a lot easier for stylists and barbers.
Cool. And you pulled through for your wife.
Yes. Yeah.
Got her out of that 9 to 5.
Yep. And so now we're working on it full time, and it's been amazing.
That's awesome. And you guys service mainly between like Salt Lake and Payson, is that right?
Yes. Yeah. We sometimes go a little bit further than Payson, not like rarely, but yeah, Utah and Salt Lake County mostly.
So just because I'm curious, what were people doing before they found you guys, or like had a regular shear sharpener?
Yeah. I mean, there's some old timers out there, for sure. And they're not the most personable. They've been around in the industry forever, and they had their limitations, like it was just a one-man band kind of situation, and you just have to wait for them to walk through the door to get your shear sharpened. And then oftentimes like people will try to reach out to them, and if you don't have enough shears, they just won't come. And so we wanted to fix that.
Cool. That's awesome. How many salons or barbershops do you see like in a typical week?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, outside of the 400-ish members that we see on a regular basis, our team, which is an incredible team, by the way, like I couldn't have done it without them.
Shout out to the
team.
team.
No, seriously, like Kara, Davin, and Jace right now, they're remarkable. And they're such hard workers. Like, I am so grateful for them. But anyway, yeah, we visit every single barbershop and salon in Salt Lake and Utah County every 35 to 40 days.
Okay.
So I don't know how many of them are out there. Like, we have records of them, but there's a lot of them. But we go through each and every one of those shops, yeah, within 35 days, and we just like cycle through them.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you guys have found such a great business model that's working for you guys. And it sounds like your team is so much fun, which makes such a difference in your work life for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're always just so happy. And like, there are times when they're a little bit down because like, you know, you kind of feed off of the energy of like the salons that you go into, the barber shops that you go into. And they'll come back to me and be like, ooh, it was a tough day. But then there's other days where like, I don't know, like, people have never felt a good sharpening before, and it really does matter.
Dang. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about when you go into all of these different salons, you're seeing a lot of different salon environments and dynamics happening. What are some patterns that you guys have noticed?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of different patterns. I think the first thing, and maybe I guess like I'm thinking from a perspective of like the minute that I walk through the door. I think it's so interesting because like stylists, yes, they're in the hair industry, but they're also in they're in the people business. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's the same for nail techs, you know, any service-based business. But they end up forgetting that they have personality and that they have emotions and that the clients also have personality and emotions. And when we come in, it's like there's sometimes a stone cold wall, and then there's some that are just so warm and inviting. Like even based off of the fact that like sometimes you'll go in and you won't even get a smile. Like stylists and barbers forget to smile. Like that, I think that's pretty shocking. But it's the ones that like really are welcoming and they just greet you with a smile. They ask you questions. Those are the ones that I feel like do very well. And I'm always just so happy to come back and service and help and sharpen shears there. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Totally. And it's really interesting to think about because it's so true. What we're doing in the beauty industry is so people focused and people centered, and to kind of forget about that connection that you're building it's a reason why people won't come back to a salon or stylist or nail tech, is because they just don't feel that warmth or like welcome, or they just don't feel comfortable. And in the end, that's really, I think, what people want even more than like a really good set of nails or a really good haircut.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. Yeah.
What about, I know you kind of mentioned this before when we were kind of like voice memoing back and forth about this, but certain salons that have like coworker vibes, or like when you can kind of sense like drama happening. What's that like?
Oh, yeah, I had an interesting experience about this. So sometimes like with timing and stuff with sharpenings, it's extremely hard to be able to catch people while they're there. Sometimes like, especially with salons that rent booths and are more commission based, they have their own schedules. It's hard to kind of time it. Especially since they're not like there from 9 to 5, like sometimes they'll be in and out. And I remember there was this particular salon. I asked them like, hey, we want to be able to work with you. And like, we know that this is going to be valuable for you, but they were always in and out. And so it was hard for us to be able to kind of provide our services. And so I told them like, hey, could you leave your shears at the front desk, or could you just like leave them so that we can come and find it? We'll service them and then drop them back off. And all of them said no, because they knew that they like, if they left something, there's a good chance they might not get it back. And so there's like situations like that where it's like, okay, they don't trust each other. There's ones where it's like, it's a competition between everyone, like in their own shop. You can tell that they don't share things. They don't, share from a physical standpoint, where like sharing equipment that they would use, or even sharing knowledge. And so everybody just like tends to kind of hold each other back. And you could feel that. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know exactly how else to explain it, but like the minute you walk in, you can tell it's like, ooh, okay, like I can tell you guys don't get along. Let me kind of like set everybody aside one by one and like kind of go through the pitch of like, hey, like you need your shear sharpened, as opposed to going to a salon where everybody kind of feeds off of each other and you can just kind of make an announcement and everybody will just be like, yep, we need this, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's something that we talk about in the beauty industry too, is just like collaboration over competition. And so it's interesting to hear how sort of divided it is.
It is.
There's a lot of competition compared to the collaboration. It makes me wonder how that just general energy of competition is affecting their business as a whole.
Yeah, no, it's totally like they're holding each other back. And I don't know if this is the case outside of Utah, but I think it's just so competitive in Utah. Like people feel this need to kind of keep to themselves almost. And if they find something like innovative or something exciting within their business or within their skills, it's like, oh, I have to keep this in, rather than share it with everyone else.
Dang,
Yeah.
not the gatekeeping.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a
Interesting.
shame.
So
Yeah.
do you see more, would you say you see like more gatekeeping energy than collaborative sharing new things?
Yeah, and I think you do run into like some people that are very willing to give and to share and stuff. Like, I don't know, like I'll walk into schools and stuff all the time, and there is a lot of that energy. But for whatever reason, the minute they leave school, it's like they stop learning, they stop sharing, and it almost becomes robotic in a way. Yeah.
I always feel like there are so many stylists. But I think Utah is pretty unique in that we just have so many beauty professionals in general. And so like there's so much hype over beauty. Like everyone's getting beauty stuff done. But I think there's like an idea too that like there's not enough clients to go around. So it's like, you know, you gotta be the best and you gotta like have this competition so that you can have all the clients and that you can run a successful business. But I think there's plenty of clients to go around.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think there is this scarcity mindset that shouldn't be there. And I think I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot for saying all this stuff, but it is sometimes a skill issue. It really is. It's all about, you know, being able to market yourself, being able to build trust. And I think the schools are really good at teaching skills, like in terms of cutting hair and doing color and stuff. Those are, I would say, the biggest things in Utah, but they don't teach how to be a people person, how to develop that trust and how to market yourself. I think that's like the biggest thing. And it's just crazy to me that like people will go to hair school for so many hours and it's really hard. Like I have so much respect for all the stylists and barbers out there. Like it takes a lot to get your license. And then to come out of it and not be thriving and succeeding is mind blowing to me. And that's what I've been seeing a lot in Utah.
Do you feel like the biggest gap is coming from the lack of like business knowledge, marketing knowledge?
Yeah, I would say so. And maybe that's like the same for anything. Like, you know, before sharpening shears, this sounds ridiculous, but I wanted to be a dentist. And I was so close. I wanted, took the tests and everything and was about to go. And ultimately, like, it just, like, I didn't feel good about it because at the end of the day, it's all about business. And yeah, maybe taking the time to be able to learn the ins and outs of that and figuring out how to market, how to be able to manage your finances and as well as like being able to tell people, I guess that's part of marketing, but being able to tell people what your skills are, I think would be a huge advantage to the growing competition out there.
So it's more of like a lack of business knowledge than like a lack of skill.
Yeah.
You think so?
I mean, maybe it's a mixture of both.
You have to have both.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
It's like here in Utah, they do so much color. And it's like, that's baseline. Like if you don't know how to color, you just don't make it. It seems like. So maybe, you know, that's part of it. I would say though, as a sharpener, I have noticed that people don't know how to cut. So maybe that's like a way to be more, to have an advantage, I guess. But yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because I just came across a video the other day. My entire like For You pages and everything I'm fed is like beauty things.
Yeah.
But I just came across a video the other day that was saying there are so many stylists that know how to color. Color is everywhere. What people can't find is a good haircut.
Yeah. No, and Kara experiences it. Like I've seen, you know, I mean, I talked to a lot of stylists and a lot of barbers, and yeah, I mean, there's a definite transition going, and the art of cutting hair is kind of dying.
And educate me a little bit on how shears play a role and sharpened shears play a role in that cutting skill.
Yeah. So, oh man. So I guess to kind of start it all off, hair shears are designed in a way to be able to help you perform the skills for you to cut hair properly, if that made sense. Mm-hmm. They're designed very specifically. Like if you ask yourself the question, why wouldn't I just use kitchen scissors to cut hair as opposed to like Japanese hair shears that cost anywhere from like $500 to $1,500?
Oh my gosh, I had no point of reference for how much shears cost.
Yeah, no, they're extremely expensive. Like the shears that we sell are roughly around $400 to $500, and they're very high quality. And we're really lucky to have partnered with them. But there are other shears out there, and people spend money on this. It's anywhere from like $1,200 to $1,500. But you take a kitchen scissor and it's like $30. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like people don't ask themselves the question, like, why wouldn't I just use kitchen scissors? And there are specific reasons, and it's because of the design, it's because of the metal, it's because of how they cut. And granted, if you have sharp shears, you don't give people split ends. So, I mean, there's a lot to it for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know you kind of mentioned this before in our voice memos too, of like, what's kind of surprised you about hairstylists' knowledge of their shears?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, even the most basic things about shears, people don't know. And I have tried this, and maybe I need to work a little bit harder on this, but I've been trying to go to hair schools and teach just about shears completely for free. Just because like I was so tired of people calling back saying like, hey, you've ruined my shears. They're not cutting anymore. And all they needed to do is turn their little dial and tighten it just a hair, and then it cuts beautifully.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like just and it's so funny. Like we have this little 3x4 or 4x6 little sheet saying like, hey, before you use your shears, read this. And it's all about tension. And it's crazy that people just don't know that sometimes you get a sharpening and it's just, you know, we do things to be able to make sure that it cuts properly, but they become loose. And if they become loose, they don't cut properly. And so, yeah, I mean, even that little basic fact is missed a lot of the times. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think is really setting really successful stylists that you see apart from the others?
Yeah. I actually have some notes on this.
Yeah.
This one's I think a 3-part answer. So what separates the successful stylist from the not so successful stylist, right? One is they don't know how to market themselves, or those that are doing really well know how to market themselves. And being able to create this consistent clientele is huge. Like it is so valuable. And I don't know. And this goes with anything within business. It's like, if you can get something that's consistent, there's like 3-5 times the value as opposed to just like somebody walking through the door. And so I would say, yeah, being able to market themselves, I think is definitely number one. Going on Instagram, like maybe even just starting there and seeing those that are able to create really engaging content, is huge. I would say number 2 is those that specialize. I think that like people try to do all these different techniques and to just be general, but you don't attract the high level, high paying customers. And I think those that specialize and do really well in that are be able to they're able to create this finer edge, I guess you could say. So yeah, I would say marketing, specializing like it's everywhere, you know, doctors specialize, dentists specialize. And I only say that because that's what my past used to be. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other things like with nails and stuff, like typical designs and whatnot. But yeah, specializing, marketing. And the other thing is that there's like one constant in hair. Hair typically grows, and people don't see that. And they're like, oh, well, we can just mask it and do these colorings and like these chemical treatments and stuff like that. But it's like, you're going to have to cut some of it off, and you need to learn how to do that properly. And I think that those three things will really help to give any stylist or barber an edge.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's always so fascinating to me how much overlap there is in the beauty industry. Because as you're saying that from a hair perspective for hairstylists, I'm thinking, oh, exactly the same for nail techs too. So touching a little bit on marketing, is there anything that you notice that those stylists who are being successful in their marketing and like successfully bringing in clientele are doing with their marketing? Is that something that you see from your end?
I don't see it as much, but I guess like here are some ideas. Like, for example, I struggle with this, but like it's very hard for me to be able to find a stylist or a barber that knows how to cut ethnic hair.
Interesting.
So that's a specialty.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like if I could see somebody being like cutting ethnic hair all the time, and granted, like you don't always have to be cutting ethnic hair, but just post about it, you know, post about it a lot. Every time you have an ethnic person walk in, it's like, post about it. And I can see that they do a great job, and they know the different structures and like the coarseness of hair and things like that. And I could see that, oh, I'm a sold customer. It's so easy. But I think it's the same way for anybody else, you know, being able to color maybe certain types of hair types, and like that's what you focus on. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I have darker hair and I want to go lighter, and like this is the person to go to. But I think things like that, I'm trying to think of what else I've seen. I mean, it kind of goes back to vibes. I don't know. I think that's such a loose surface level answer, but you can tell. You can tell. Yeah.
It's so interesting when you think about kind of this idea of like having a niche and like really specializing in something, because I think a mindset, especially maybe in school, nail school, hair school, is that I have to do everything so that I'll attract everyone and so that I can have as many clients as possible and do whatever it is that they want. But when you start to think about it, it makes so much sense that when you are really, really good at something, at one particular thing, people are going to have already this built-in trust with you to do that one thing, because you're posting about it, you're sharing about it. That's the one thing that you're doing so well. So you're going to attract every person that just wants that specific thing done really well.
Yeah. And I don't know why people just don't think about that stuff. Maybe it's because the industry is monotonous. It's like you go in and you do what you need to do, and then you come out, you know, and there's like, sometimes you just turn off your brain and that's all that you can do. And I get that. But there has to be creativity. I think hair and being a barber and stylist, it's an art, and combined with business, it's a lot. I totally get that. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, you have to be good you have to have the skill, and you have to have the business skill too, which is when you were asking me about the podcast earlier, that was really what I wanted to kind of like bring into these discussions, was just talking about things that you don't learn in school that are really important in business and really important to your success overall in the beauty industry, aside from just having that skill. So I always love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, no, and I think it's such a cool like mission that you have. I think I hope it's helping a lot of people. I feel like I've listened to a little bit, and I feel like there's a lot of value there for sure. And yeah, I think those that are willing to learn and willing to adapt, and to be able to see that, you know, to be able to think 3 steps ahead, I think are the ones that are going to succeed and going to leave everyone else behind. Yeah,
totally. And there's a lot of competition. And I think, one thing I wanted to say with when we were talking about how people are kind of like, how how people maybe aren't thinking about the niche and having like a specialty and like really honing in on something. I also think it's maybe not really an explicit thing that people are looking for, but it's more of like a psychological, like they don't realize that when they see somebody who does one thing really well, then they're more like attracted to that if that's what they're looking for. So I think it's not, I almost think because it might be something that we as like human beings don't even realize that like that's what we're attracted to.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I think that's very well said.
Do you have any other just like fun stories or interesting anecdotes to share about your experiences in salons?
Oh, fun experiences in salons.
Not to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's tough because, like, you remember the bad ones.
Dang, yeah.
You remember the bad ones. And sometimes it's like, and maybe I'm just being a pessimist of just remembering them. But I do need to be better at remembering the good ones as well.
You could share a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, it's
only if you want to. You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, a bad one. Okay, well, I'll think of a really good one, and I'll share a bad one
okay.
while I'm at it. But there's this salon that it was like our very first time being in it. And obviously there was a lot of trust building that needed to happen. And maybe it's just like we didn't set our expectations very well, but we had to sharpen a shear that was clearly like, ooh, it's on the border. Like this person clearly did not take care of their shears. They don't care about their shears, but it does an okay job. And so we asked them all these questions because there are different types of cutting that people do. And depending on how they like to cut, their shears have to be sharpened in a particular way to be able to help them perform their skills.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we like went over to sharpen them, and we like completely kind of changed her shear in a way. And wow, it was like a 3-month long ordeal. And eventually we like had to give her a $500 pair of shears. And it was like all this stuff. And it's just so interesting that like the lack of knowledge within shears, it was the combination of the lack of knowledge in shears and treating people poorly. And that kind of reflected within her clients as well. And on top of that, it's like this victim mentality in a way, you know? And it's so interesting that stylists have to be people pleasers and their clients have to be happy. And I know that they have horror stories with clients that they had to help. And yet they will still treat everybody else the same way. And it's always the sharpener's fault. But I mean, it's like, you know, we are always trying to give high quality work. And sometimes we do make our mistakes. I totally get that. But this salon in particular just treated us so poorly, and it reflected in everything within their business. And yeah, I guess that's the story there.
Yeah, that's too bad. And sucks.
It really does. It really does.
It sucks no matter where you are in any industry. It sucks to work with people who are just not treating other people with kindness and respect.
Yeah. And maybe that's like something that people or stylists and barbers just need to hear. It's like they forget that they're working with people. And maybe that's the overarching value that people should be getting from this podcast. It's like people have feelings, they have emotions, they have trust, they have loyalty. Like there's just so many things that people need to focus on. And of course, the skills are very important and still be working on those. And maybe they go hand in hand. Like if you're going through the time outside of your hours after, you know, those long hours to be able to learn additional skills because you care, I think maybe they do go hand in hand, and there's something to be said there.
Totally. And yeah. I think the same thing goes for nail techs and estheticians. I mean, when you're providing a high quality service that people are really happy with and satisfied with when they leave, and you're giving them a good experience, like that's like the secret sauce. And people, you'll be able to maintain clientele. And like you said at the beginning, having the loyal clientele are going to make you so much more money in the long run rather than trying to rely on like one-time walk-ins happening all the time.
Yeah, and that's for sure. Like we'll talk to our sharpeners like Davin and Jace. They're just amazing. They're so happy and they're like very willing to help. But they'll come back and report to us about like all the different salons and like the ones that they love going to. And if they see it within their routes for sharpenings, they're like always excited. It's like, yes, I know that they're going to be welcoming here. I love going here. Like they are very vocal about that. And we'll get kind of updates on like how many sharpenings they've done and stuff. And it's always when they're at salons and barbershops that they don't like, where they know the vibe's off, they do poorly. And it's so interesting to see that from a sharpener's perspective, that it manifests. It manifests in every single way. So
Fascinating.
yeah.
That's really fascinating. Like it affects their productivity in general with, the work that they're doing. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool hearing about your business, and I can tell that you've just put so much thought into it, and also just like learned so much about the hair industry from your perspective as a sharpener, which is so cool that you've put in that thought and really like analyzed, and so that you can help people the best way. So where can everybody find Butter Shears?
Yeah. I mean, our Instagram is just Butter Shears. And then our website is buttershears.com. And if anybody wants a sharpening, it's really easy. You just purchase a Utah van sharpening and we'll just come. We'll schedule something with you guys and be able to come right to your shop, take care of you and do all that for you. But yeah, we just want it to be a high quality experience. We know it's not something cheap that we're working with. Like people invest a lot of money and time into their shears, and we want to be able to make sure to treat them the same way. So,
and great to hear that you guys have the values in your company that you want to see in other salons, but you guys are providing that those values and that respect that you're wanting from other people.
Yeah. And hopefully everybody sees that. And if they don't, like, we love feedback. Like we get feedback all the time, and mostly positive, but the negative ones are the ones that also help. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. Before we end, was there any other notes or things that like you wanted to include in here before we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is one thing. Kara and I, we love Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso is one of the greatest, and it's one of the greatest shows. I highly recommend whoever's listening to watch Ted Lasso. But something that Ted says, he's like, be curious, like not judgmental. And I think like as long as we're all curious, especially within the hair industry, like being curious, I think could help in so many different ways. It helps you to be able to learn, to be able to know why things are the way they are. Anything from like their shears, like being able to ask yourself, oh yeah, why aren't I just using cheap $30 scissors off of Amazon versus this $500 pair that I got from school? Or like, oh, like why did they not like that haircut or that coloring? It's like, was there something that I need to learn here? And being curious, I think, is such a great value to live by. And I don't think anybody would ever be offended to, somebody asking certain questions and just being able to show curiosity. But I think, that's one of the greatest things. And being curious to people that are doing well, like showing curiosity to the people that are doing well and seeing, oh, like how, like who, what, when, where, how, like that's kind of stuff.
Just putting in the mental and emotional energy to figure out how you can be better and improve.
Yeah.
And I like that. I love the Ted Lasso mantra.
It's so good. It's so good. And I have so much respect for stylists and barbers. Like I know walking in how hard it is. Like you're standing all the time. You're also like, you also have a social battery. I know some are higher than others, but like it's draining. And then at the same time, you're selling your skills, you're selling products, you're having to remember all the different skills. And oh man, I have so much respect for hairstylists and barbers. And I really hope that people can own up to that, because I know a lot of times I'll talk to a stylist and that I don't know is a stylist, but they'll come up to me and be like, yeah, or I'll ask them, hey, what do you do? What do you do for work? And they're like, oh, I'm just a stylist. I'm like, don't downplay that. It's such hard work, and everyone goes into it like either like they want something stable, but they also want growth and opportunity. And a lot of stylists are wanting to be entrepreneurs and own their own business. It's like that is such a big deal. And I hope that like stylists and barbers are able to own up to that and be able to feel proud for what they're doing, because it is hard. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
I love that you just said that. In fact, last week I was talking with a nail tech on this exact topic of just the misconceptions in the industry of beauty jobs being lesser than other careers. And we were just discussing all of the intricacies that go into specifically like nail design and nail anatomy and product chemistry and all the things that you're thinking about in your brain while you're just having a personable conversation with somebody that's sitting in your chair. So it's fun to hear about from the hairstylist perspective or from that angle of just how much goes into being a good stylist.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you just think about it, it's like you need a license for all these stuff. Like you might have to just wonder, like, why do I need to get a license? And I think part of it is just it's a hard job. Mm-hmm. It is. And it takes a lot of time. And I think a lot of people, like you said, should be proud of it.
Awesome. I love that as our message to stylists here. And yeah, thanks so much for being here again. It's been great chatting.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Beauty Connective podcast. If you're a beauty professional who wants to help us revolutionize the beauty industry and make it easier for clients to find you and you to find clients, create your profile today at thebeautyconnective.com.